Hi everyone. Today we're going to discuss something interesting, and also that is a new topic for the channel. The title is How Hackers Actually Think. So this is our first cybersecurity topic. So when people hear the word hacker, they often imagine someone in a dark hoodie, typing extremely fast and breaking through firewalls with pure genius. But that's not how hacking usually works. And most of the time, hacking is not about brilliance. It is rather about thinking differently. So most of the time, we do, you know, um, I guess most people are familiar with Hollywood movies and how they present hackers or people who understand from computers, just tapping something for 2 seconds and suddenly having access to everything that you want, etc. But that's not how it looks like. It's not the reality of it. So today we're going to dive in a little bit more about the thinking behind it. You know, um, Obviously without discussing tactics or anything else. But again, we'll boil down to what actually makes a hacker somebody who uses systems simply differently. So, hackers don't think like users. A normal user interacts with the system cooperatively. They click a button, they expect it to work, and they follow the intended path. A hacker asks a different question. What happens if I don't cooperate? What happens if I don't use the system the way it was designed? So that's the first shift. And also they look for assumptions, right? Every system is built on assumptions. So we assume a user will click at normal speed. We assume users do not send malformed data. Users won't try thousands of requests per second. And they won't attempt to bypass the interface. But hackers look for those assumptions. So for example, what if I click a button 10,000 times? Of course, not manually, but through automation. Because here's the truth: the user interface is not the system. Behind every button, there is an API. Behind every form, there is a server. Behind every interaction, there is logic. So if I can send requests directly to that logic, what the UI limits without the UI limits, so what would happen in that case? And this is how attackers think. They think in scale. Many features are safe at small scale, but unsafe at large. One login attempt, that's fine. 1,000 attempts per second, that's a problem. One search query, that's fine. But 10,000 automated ones, that would overwhelm the database. So hackers think in scale. They ask, what happens if I automate this? What happens if I remove human limits? Security often fails not because something works once, but because it works endlessly. They look for weak boundaries. Security isn't just about strong passwords or encryption only. It's about boundaries. So, good questions are, where does trust begin? Where does it end? Who is allowed to access what? Is every request verified? Are we trusting the front end already checked it? Hackers love misplaced trust. If the server assumes the front end validated something, that's a weakness, because the front end can be bypassed. Hackers don't trust the boundaries, they test them. They think in chains, and this is important. Most vulnerabilities alone could be harmless, but combined, they can become powerful. Maybe if there's a small input validation issue, a weak permission check, a predictable identifier. Individually, they seem minor, but together they create an escalation. So the question becomes, if I combine this with that, what happens? Security is rarely broken by one massive flow. It's broken by small flows interacting. Another one is they assume misconfiguration. So here's something surprising. Many major breaches don't happen because of genius exploits. They happen because something was configured incorrectly. An exposed storage bucket, a default password, an open port, an overly permissive role. Hackers assume humans are busy, and humans make mistakes. Discount for those mistakes, not because they're smarter, but because they're patient. They exploit time. Distributed systems introduce timing gaps, race conditions, delayed updates, tokens that expire but are still accepted, retry loops. So hackers ask, what happens between checks? Security is not about logic, it's about timing. And the real lesson, here's an important thing. Hackers don't see features. They see abuse potential. What developers do ask is, what can users do? But what hackers ask is, what can users misuse? So that's a mindset shift. Security is not about stopping genius attackers. It's about designing systems that assume non-cooperation. It's about removing hidden assumptions, about verifying instead of trusting, and about building systems that remain stable under stress. Understanding how hackers think doesn't mean becoming one, it just means designing better systems. Because the difference between a feature and vulnerability is often just one assumption. And good architecture is about making those assumptions explicit. So I hope that was interesting. I hope that you learned something new today. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.